Over the next few days, I think by the 9th they'll be fully covered, and they'll range in value from maybe 60 or 70% tariffs to 10 and 20% tariffs.
It is Independence Day in the United States, though it may feel different for many Americans. Protests against Donald Trump's policies
Trump standing up there at one point saying, "Don't believe anything that you hear about this bill. It's the most popular bill in history." Of course,
I'm speaking to President Zelensky tomorrow, early in the morning, and I'm very disappointed with the conversation I had today with President Bush.
Trump always chickens out, and that all plays into it. So I don't expect we're going to see much reaction at all, probably until next week when it really comes down to the wire and
what his team believes. And in fact, if you talk to a number of them, they believe that this is the biggest thing and the greatest victory they've had. Both terms.
How confident are you in being able to sell it to the American people?
I think it's very popular.
This was supposed to be America's day of pride fireworks in the sky, flags waving high, families gathered with joy. But instead, Donald Trump handed the American people a ticking economic time bomb. While the nation lit sparklers, he lit the fuse on a dangerous tariff war that could explode prices and paralyze trade. With fear spreading, celebrations canceled, and lies broadcast from the podium, this wasn't a 4th of July to remember, it was a betrayal to regret.
We're going to start sending letters out to various countries starting tomorrow. We'll probably have 10 or 12 go out tomorrow. And over the next few days, I think by the 9th they'll be fully covered. And they'll range in value from maybe 60 or 70% tariffs to 10 and 20% tariff. But they're going to be starting to go out sometime tomorrow. We've done the final form, and it's basically going to explain what the countries are going to be paying in tariffs. And it's very important. It's a lot of money for the country, but we're giving them a bargain.
Trump didn't declare war on a country. He declared war on your wallet. A 70% tariff isn't just some big scary number for headlines. It's the silent tax that hits where it hurts the most: your grocery bill, your electricity, your job. When countries are forced to pay these brutal tariffs, they retaliate. They slap America back with tariffs of their own. That means farmers can't sell crops, small businesses can't afford parts, families can't afford to live, and Trump calls this a bargain. The same man who bailed out billionaires now wants everyday Americans to sacrifice for the country. But let's be honest, he's not sacrificing a damn thing. His luxury life isn't touched. Yours is. Inflation is already ripping through families like wildfire. And now, Trump wants to pour gasoline on it. 70% tariffs aren't patriotism. Their punishment.
It is Independence Day in the United States, though it may feel different for many Americans. Protests against Donald Trump's policies have been planned around the country. In Southern California, some 4th of July celebrations have been canceled altogether. Officials say it's because of safety concerns over Trump's immigration crackdown. The Los Angeles neighborhood of El Sereno canceling its parade after 90% of its participants dropped out.
What kind of leader turns the most patriotic day in America into a day of fear and silence? When children can't wave flags, when parades vanish, and when people are too scared to gather in public, that's not freedom. That's authoritarianism dressed in red, white, and blue. Trump's crackdown on immigrants didn't just hit undocumented families. It spread terror through entire communities. 90% of participants dropped out of a local California parade, not because they hate the country, but because they feared Trump's goons showing up instead of clowns and marching bands. Let that sink in. A president's policies made people too afraid to celebrate the very country they love. That's not law and order. That's oppression. It's a heartbreaking snapshot of a country losing its soul. America thrives on unity, on shared traditions, on open arms. But Trump has replaced those with suspicion, raids, and silence.
The spin on how they are going to get voters to digest this bill and approve of this bill has already begun. We heard President Trump standing up there at one point saying, "Don't believe anything that you hear about this bill. It's the most popular bill in history." Of course, as we know, it is not the most popular bill in history, but we will see how voters receive this bill as some of the policies in it begin to actually take place. That is what Republicans are hoping for, in fact, because they believe that some of these will help them get voters in the midterms. But again,
this is Trump's classic move: lie so boldly, so confidently, that truth gets buried beneath the noise. He stood on the steps of democracy and told the American people not to trust their own eyes and ears. But the truth is clear: the big beautiful bill isn't popular. It's feared. Even Republicans in that same crowd whispered doubts. Voters don't support it because it doesn't support them. Behind the curtain of red, white, and blue balloons lies a disaster of a bill packed with hidden traps, giveaways to the rich, cuts for the middle class, and layers of confusing regulations no one asked for. And Trump's strategy: gaslight America, convince them it's a win while they suffer the loss. Real leaders explain. Real leaders take accountability. Trump tells people they're wrong to feel the pain they're already living. This isn't just deception, it's manipulation at the highest level.
I'm speaking to President Zelensky tomorrow, early in the morning, and I'm very disappointed with the conversation I had today with President Putin, because I don't think he's there. I don't think he's there, and I'm very disappointed. Well, it's not, I'm just saying, I don't think he's looking to stop, and that's too bad. This is Biden. This isn't me. This is Biden's war. It wouldn't have happened if I were president.
This was the moment Trump's years of blind loyalty to Putin finally blew up in his face. After praising him endlessly, refusing to criticize him even when Putin meddled in U.S. elections and terrorized Ukraine, Trump now dares to say he's disappointed. What did he expect, a thank you card from the Kremlin? This is what happens when you cozy up to autocrats. You get played, then discarded. Trump spent years defending Putin, even more than he defended American journalists or his own intelligence agencies. But now, when he finally needs Putin to show him some respect, he gets brushed off like a nobody. This isn't just personal embarrassment, it's global humiliation. And while Trump sulks about Putin not being there, the rest of the world sees exactly what this is: a failed strawman groveling for attention from a bigger bully. This is what happens when loyalty is one-sided and driven by ego. You get betrayed on a world stage.
I'm speaking to President Zelensky tomorrow, early in the morning, and this is Biden's war. It wouldn't have happened if I were president. It wouldn't have happened. You know, in one way I had to get too involved because it's Biden's war, and I got stuck in the middle of it, just like I did with immigration and a lot of other things that they screwed up.
Trump doesn't speak like a president, he speaks like a child caught sneaking out of class. It's not my war, he whines, pointing fingers at Biden, as if global conflicts are a playground mess he wants no part of. But here's the truth: when you're the sitting president of the United States, everything is your responsibility. Dodging blame only proves how unfit he is for leadership. He claims it wouldn't have happened under him, but this is the same man who praised Putin, tried to blackmail Zelensky, and weaken NATO. Now suddenly he wants to play the innocent bystander. That's not diplomacy. That's cowardice wrapped in arrogance. And what kind of president admits he's stuck in the middle? Leaders aren't stuck. They stand up. They take charge. But Trump wants the glory of the title without the burden of responsibility. While Ukrainians fight for their survival and world leaders negotiate peace, Trump just worries about protecting his image. It's pathetic, and it's dangerous.
You know, Trump always chickens out, and that all plays into it. So I don't expect we're going to see much reaction at all, probably until next week when it really comes down to the wire. And even then, even if markets get yippy, will it be sort of short term or longer term? We'll just have to wait and see. But we're not getting much of substance at this stage.
Even seasoned analysts have stopped taking Trump seriously. When the world hears him threaten 70% tariffs or make bold claims, they don't panic, they wait for the walkback. Because they know the pattern: big talk, zero action. Investors call it taco trade bluff, bluster, retreat. And guess what? That predictability is a massive liability for the United States. No leader, no country, no investor trusts Trump's word anymore. When he speaks, markets don't move, they smirk. That's what happens when you burn through credibility like a wildfire. You become noise. And for a sitting U.S. president, that's catastrophic. Allies hesitate, enemies test boundaries, and American leadership weakens. Trump likes to brag about being unpredictable. But this isn't strategic mystery, it's unstable chaos. Leaders don't chicken out, they negotiate with vision, not vanity. Trump's entire presidency is now reduced to performance art, where every bold announcement is just the opening act to a quiet retreat. The world isn't fooled anymore, and neither should the American people be.
What his team believes. And in fact, if you talk to a number of them, they believe this is the biggest thing and the greatest victory they've had, both terms combined, because as we've continued to say, President Trump believes that this is going to deliver on those campaign promises. Now, something interesting to note, as we know, this bill is not popular with voters. We have seen the polling on it. I talked to a number of Republicans, even here today, who have said that they believe that people aren't aware of what's in the bill.
This is the kind of lie Donald Trump loves to shout in front of cameras, hoping that people will just nod and believe in without question. When he says the bill is the most popular in history, he's not talking about the American people, he's talking about his wealthy donors and party elites. The reality on the ground is very different. Americans are confused, angry, and afraid of what's inside this bill. Polls show that many citizens either don't understand it or openly disapprove of it. And that's no accident. The bill was intentionally written to be complex, filled with hidden clauses and corporate loopholes. It weakens healthcare protections, ignores small businesses, and boosts billionaires. This isn't a victory, it's a performance, a well-rehearsed act where the real winners are lobbyists and CEOs. The average American is nothing more than a spectator in this drama, and the final scene leaves them holding a heavier tax burden. with less clarity and zero support. Trump may smile for the cameras, but this bill is a betrayal wrapped in red, white, and blue.
How confident are you in being able to sell it to the American people?
I think it's very popular. It does many things, but one of them is the biggest tax cut in our country's history. And that alone makes it very popular. The only poll that was done was a Democrat poll, and they'll ask two of the little bit controversial things, but good things for the country.
The moment Trump said this, he created a dangerous illusion as if tax cuts automatically mean relief for everyone. But that's far from the truth. These so-called historic tax cuts are tailored almost entirely for those already living in luxury, the millionaires with mansions and private jets. For middle-class families, there is no lasting benefit, no real relief. At best, they might save a few temporary dollars, but in the long run, it's the wealthy corporations and hedge funds that gain billions. And the real blow comes in the future. By 2026, working Americans will see their taxes quietly rise again, while funding for schools, healthcare, and safety nets gets slashed to cover the shortfall. When Trump says very popular, he's only speaking to the Wall Street executives who bankroll his campaigns, not to the struggling parents, students, or small business owners. This isn't a gift, it's a trap. A shiny marketing ploy designed to deepen inequality while pretending to deliver prosperity. What he calls the biggest tax cut is actually the biggest con. A generational scam that robs the public while fattening the elite.
After the first batch, he would send out up to a dozen letters a day. Well, for more on all of this, CNN's Anna Stewart joining me from London. And it does sound like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had more specifics about the tariff rate a majority of countries might be looking at. What did he say?
This one sentence reveals the true face of Trump's leadership: impulsive, reckless, and utterly unplanned. What kind of president uses Independence Day to kick off a trade war? Announcing daily tariff letters like he's running a personal grudge match, Trump is placing the entire country at risk. Once those letters go out, other countries won't stay silent, they will hit back. And the retaliation will land hard on American goods. That means our farmers will lose foreign buyers, our manufacturers will see higher costs, our stores will raise prices. Every letter Trump sends is not just a warning to another nation, it's an economic missile aimed directly at the American working class. This isn't a strategy, it's a tantrum. It's the ego of one man putting an entire economy in jeopardy. And the tragedy is, many of his supporters think this is tough leadership. But leading economists and trade experts are calling it what it really is: a reckless gamble with millions of livelihoods on the line. This isn't policy, this is chaos dressed as patriotism, and the American people will be the ones to pay the price.
1 year ago, people didn't want to join our military. They didn't want to join our police or fighters. They didn't want to join anything having to do with our country. And now, as you probably know, the enlistment is at an all-time record. We're packed.
This is the kind of lie only a self-obsessed leader can tell without any connection to reality. According to recent Pentagon data, military recruitment across the Army, Navy, and Air Force has failed to meet targets for the 2024 fiscal year. Young Americans aren't lining up to serve. Many are scared, disillusioned, or financially trapped. And Trump's chaotic, divisive leadership hasn't inspired service, it's driven people away. He turned the military into a political weapon, even threatening to deploy troops against peaceful protesters and questioning soldiers' loyalty now. When he says enlistment is at an all-time high, it's clear he's completely detached from facts. He's selling fiction because that's what he thinks leadership is: acting, not serving. Military strength doesn't come from tweets or staged speeches. It comes from trust, unity, and national purpose, all of which Trump has shattered with his own hands.
We're going to make it cheaper, more efficient, and more effective for those farmers. We will have a 100% legal workforce very, very soon.
Trump made this sound like a breakthrough in immigration reform, as if he had solved America's labor crisis overnight. But the reality is much uglier. His so-called visa streamlining policies have crippled U.S. agriculture. The H-2 visa system he claims is now efficient is actually buried in red tape and delays. Farm owners across America from California to Florida have warned again and again they aren't getting enough seasonal workers to save their crops. And this isn't just about farms. Construction, hospitality, even healthcare sectors are all facing severe labor shortages thanks to Trump's hardline immigration stance. When you demonize undocumented workers and make legal immigration harder, work simply stops, productivity dies, the economy slows. His promise of a 100% legal workforce is nothing more than a political slogan. The reality: fear and dysfunction are driving skilled workers away, and American dinner tables are paying the price.
This is going to be something special. This spirit in this country, we haven't seen anything like it in many, many years and decades.
Trump repeats this line at every opportunity, but this time, His words are so far from reality that the irony screams louder than the fireworks. If America truly had the spirit he brags about, Independence Day parades wouldn't be canceled. Communities wouldn't be too scared to celebrate. In California's El Sereno, 90% of participants pulled out of a July 4th parade not because they lacked patriotism, but because they feared ICE raids and targeted harassment under Trump's policies. That's not unity, that's fear. True American spirit doesn't come from speeches or red hats, it comes when people feel safe, seen and welcome. When kids can run in the streets waving flags, not hiding behind locked doors. Trump has replaced that spirit with division, anxiety, and control. What he sells as patriotism is just performance, a staged illusion for the cameras, not a celebration of the people.
Starting August the 1st, the countries will begin paying anywhere from 10 to 70% tariff rates.
When Trump says countries will pay tariffs, he's committing one of the biggest economic lies in modern American history. Tariffs aren't paid by foreign governments, they're paid by the people right here at home. When he slaps a 70% tariff on imported goods, the cost isn't absorbed by China or Mexico. It's passed directly to the American consumer. It hits every household that buys electronics from China, fruits from Mexico, or lumber from Canada. The result? Grocery bills go up, gas prices rise, and inflation rips through the wallets of working families. Trump likes to brand this as toughness, but it's actually an indirect tax silently crushing poor and middle-class Americans, the most dangerous part. Many don't even realize they're the ones paying. They think the pain is being dealt overseas, but they feel it every time they open their wallet. And when August 1st comes, Americans will wake up to a terrifying reality. Trump's economic strength is just an illusion. Their 4th of July gift is an empty fridge and unpaid bills.
Donald Trump always seems to kind of back off of it, so that's why I think you've seen the market so stable.
When Wall Street stops reacting to a president's words, it means one thing: he's lost all credibility. Financial analysts, global markets, and even Trump's own advisors now treat his economic statements like background noise. Why? Because he's built a reputation of barking loudly and then backing off. One day it's tariff threats, the next it's a historic trade deal, and the day after that total silence, investors no longer see him as a serious negotiator. They see him as an erratic performer whose every move is designed for applause, not results. That inconsistency isn't just embarrassing, it's dangerous. CEOs delay investments, small businesses hesitate to expand, and the stock market becomes a game of guessing Trump's next emotional outburst. When the president's voice becomes a trading meme instead of a staple signal, it means America's economy is being run like a reality show with real-world consequences. Without consistency, there is no growth, and Trump's reckless behavior has turned the world's most trusted economy into its most unstable partner.
El Sereno canceling its parade after 90% of its participants dropped out.
This isn't just a sentence, it's a painful symbol of how deeply Trump has fractured the heart of America. When communities cancel long-standing traditions, when families withdraw from national celebrations, the damage goes far beyond politics. The Latino community, one of the most patriotic and family-rooted in the country, is now avoiding Independence Day, not because they don't love America, but because they no longer feel safe under Trump's immigration policies. In places like El Sereno, 90% of parade participants dropped out, fearing ICE raids, detentions, and racial profiling. That's not freedom, that's fear. And when survival becomes more important than celebration, something is terribly broken. Trump's America First isn't uniting the nation, it's dividing it with fear. Patriotic holidays are more than fireworks, they represent unity, belonging, and shared pride. And when those values vanish, America doesn't just lose its economic power, it begins to lose its soul.